Hey, Kevin here from DIYDork.com. Today I want to show you how I took an Ikea table I found at the thrift store that was super beat up, but it was only 10 bucks, and I rewrapped it with some spare Ikea parts that I bought in their clearance section, plus some leftover plywood that we had when we redid the floors in our house. And anyway, put them all together and it looked like a really high-end designer piece. It looks really, really cool. So check this out. This is an awesome project. Alright, so here is the little Ikea table that I'm working with. Nice little coffee table. It's got chrome legs that are in good shape. They're not rusty or anything like that. And then the top, it used to look good, but now it's in pretty sad shape. As you can see, it has some serious issues. Looks like it had some water damage, and it's scratched all up, and something dropped on it right there and just busted a hole right through it. The corners aren't any good, so I need to recover it. So what I decided to do was to recover it with a bunch of scrap material that I actually bought at Ikea a few months back. I got a whole pile of it for 15 bucks. Let's see if I can find a picture for you. Anyway, I'm going to take some of the black and white pieces and use them, and then I'm going to mix a little bit of my leftover plywood from, I don't even know what project it was from, but I have so much of that downstairs. So I'm just going to reuse all of it and make a really cool top for this, and then wrap it with some wood and call it done and flip it on Craigslist. So it should turn out pretty cool. So let's get started. Alright, so first things first, I need to rough up the surface so that the new material will stick to it when I glue it down and then nail it down. So I'm just going to rough it up with some 60 grit on my sander and just get the whole surface rough. I think the top here is like a paint and the sides might be a little bit of a laminate, so I'm just going to rough it up, and then I'm going to do kind of like a grid where I go all the way through the paint down to the particle board or whatever it is underneath, just so that the glue will stick a little better. So I'll show you real quick. Alright, now that my tabletop is sanded, the last thing I'm doing is I'm drawing some layout lines for the little blocks that I'm going to use to wrap the top. Alright, so I got them all drawn out. I'll show you real quick what it looks like. Alright, so here's the layout I decided to do. I'm going to do some black pieces here in these two corners, and then white in that corner and that corner, and then I'm going to use two pieces of plywood. I decided to go ahead and throw a little plywood in there for a little variety, and I think one will be stained a little darker than the other. So now what I got to do is figure out how to actually measure these little fractals here to put on my pieces to cut out, and that will be a little tricky because I can't screw it up. I only have a couple of pieces that will work for this. So cross your fingers and wish me luck. Alright, so now I'm going to start cutting my little plates for the top, and I decided to start from the center and work out because that way I know I can make this one fit exactly the shape I need, and then these others I can kind of have overhang the edge and cut them a little easier. But these two in the middle are going to be the hardest to work with, so I'm going to start with this one. This was going to be plywood. So what I did is I took some tape and I extended the line that I drew. Just when I lay my board on there, I can see where the line goes. And I did that over here. Alright. Now, what I'm going to do, since this is a factory edge that's straight, I'm going to line it up to this edge over here. Alright. So now I know that edge is good. So then what I can do is take my marker, and if you saw earlier, I made tick marks where everything is. So I can just line it up and then just go and make tick marks anywhere that these lines land. So there's like one right here I'm going to have to cut. I will draw a line right there. Alright, there's this one right here. You can't see me draw it, but doing it there. And this one right here, I have to cut right along this line. So I'm going to make a mark right here. And then there's also one right over here. And then there's one back here that you probably can't see because of the camera, but I'll make a little tick mark there as well, if I can get to it. Alright, now I'll flip it over and I will join all those lines using a straight edge, and you'll see how this works like magic. Pretty awesome. Alright, so I got my lines drawn, and now you can see it's like a mirror image. My little line goes there, comes up to here, and I cut that way, and we lay it down. Should be a perfect fit. So I think what I'm also going to do is go ahead and cut this piece out, sand it, finish it, and nail it down before I do any of the others. That way, just kind of work one at a time, and like I said, work from the middle out, and they should all fit perfectly. So I'll do that next. Alright, now on my saw, from the blade to the edge of this little metal piece here is 1 inch. So what I did is I measured an inch from my line over, and then I clamped down this straight edge here so they have a nice fence to follow, so I get a nice straight cut. So let me cut it real quick. Alrighty, so there we go. I got that middle piece there cut down to size so it fits perfectly. Then I sanded it down, rounded off the edges, put on some stain, and I put on some lacquer. And then I didn't show it, but I quickly light sanded the lacquer and then just kind of buffed it out so it was nice and smooth. It's a super slick now. And then of course glued and nailed it down into place. So now I got to work on the next wooden piece, and that one I'll do all the same stuff except I will not stain it. I'm gonna have that one raw plywood and this one stained plywood. Then the black pieces and the white pieces that go on, all I'm going to do for those is kind of the same thing, cut them to size. I will round off the edges because they have like a sort of like a laminate on them. So I'm going to round off the edges so you'll see just a little bit of particle board there, and I'm going to glue and nail those down. I'm not going to add any clear coat or anything like that. So next time you see this, I'll have all these pieces on you, and then I'll show you how I clean up the edges. Alright, now check that out. The top is totally done now. Looks really, really good. You can see here how it has like the laminate, and there's just that little edge of particle board showing. So I sanded it at kind of an angle, so that looks really good. The only part I'm not super happy about is my black piece here just ended just a little bit short. So when I put edging on there, you'll see just a little bit of gap, but that's what happens when you make things by hand. So anyway, now I got to finish off the sides. So what I'm going to do is use another piece of plywood as my edging. So it'll be 1/2 inch wide, and it'll just basically cover the white here plus the edge of this particle board right here. I already measured, it's going to be 2.5 inches. So I'll pop 4 of those on there, and I'll probably show you just real quick how I do it, and then I'll show you how this thing looks finished. It should turn out really, really cool. I really like the design it's got so far. Alright, so here's a real quick sneak peek. Now I just lost a whole bunch of light today. It's fall, it's getting dark early, kind of sucks, but whatever. So I'll show it to you tomorrow in the daylight so you can see a lot better, but it turned out really awesome. Well, it ended up being rainy and gross out today, but I still got decent lighting, so let me show you how it turned out. Looks really, really cool. The chrome legs and then the chrome base under there are still in good condition, and then the bottom is still perfect. So now that we got the new top and the new sides on there, this thing looks really nice. Looks kind of like a high-end designer table. And of course, the black and white pieces are some of the Ikea scraps I bought a while back. I got a huge car full for about 15 bucks. I mean, I got a whole bunch of pieces. I'm still using them for different things. And of course, the plywood on the edging, and then in the middle there is some of the leftover plywood we had from doing our flooring. But anyway, it turned out really, really cool. I've had this idea in my head for a while, and I didn't know what it would look like, but I like it. I think I'm going to start playing around with more shapes and designs like this. I think it'd be pretty cool. But it turned out awesome, and I think it's going to sell really, really well. Definitely way better than the junker thrift store table it started out as.